Welcome to Ham and Jam, the World War II British Airborne podcast, hosted by Andy Bryant and Kevin Getz.
Welcome to another episode of Ham and Jam. I am Kevin Getz, your co-host of our podcast that covers everything British Airborne during the Second World War. I cannot do this without my wonderful mate, Andy Bryant. Andy, how you doing?
I'm doing great, mate, and all the better for hearing your dulcet tones once again.
I do have that soothing crooner voice, don't I?
Yes, that's one way of saying it.
Well, Andy, I see we're sitting at our table in the Horsa Groom. You already have your pint. What are you drinking, my friend?
Do I really need to tell you?
You know what? As soon as the words came out of my mouth, I was like, why did I even ask the question?
You know it's going to be a glass of sparkling mineral water. Or it could be a pint of Guinness.
As many of our listeners know, I have just recently returned from the UK and I spent some time with you and you have unduly influenced me, my friend. Before I sat down, I told the landlord, give me what he's having. So I'm having a Guinness. And as he handed me my glass, he gave me the look and said, are you lot going to stick around again? So he knows how we like to hang over, doesn't he?
I can't believe you're stealing my shtick here now, mate. I mean, I know they say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but come on, man. I mean, you really want me to drag out that kilt and start wearing it?
I don't know. You've got some pretty sexy legs.
Just because I don't have legs like Crazy Legs Crane, I think that's a compliment.
Well, we got to show off my crazy legs. Andy, what a weekend at We Have Ways Fest. That was my first experience, and I am truly thrilled, and I was honored to have my first We Have Ways Fest experience standing next to you talking about the Glider Pilot Regiment, and what an amazing 4 days that was, you know, my friend?
Oh, yeah, absolutely was. It was tiring, and it was full on. They were long days, but the public engagement, the supporters of Ham and Jam that we met, the guests that we've had on that we met, to have you, Cal, there, and Ben, and obviously Jane for the GPRS, and we all pulling in the same direction, working as a team. It was fantastic. Tiring, but fantastic.
You know what? I think I told you it was one of those good tirings. I've been exhausted where I just felt miserable, but those were days, you know, when I went to bed and laid my head down on the pillow, man, I felt good about what we were able to accomplish in telling the story of the Glider Pilot Regiment and working with Jane and making sure that people understand what the society does. And it's remember those men and women who did the work at the air bases, and to never forget the efforts that they put forth and the sacrifices that some of them made to make sure that the Second World War ended the way that it did. Like I said, I can't imagine spending We Have Ways with anybody other than yourself.
Well, you didn't have much choice. Otherwise, you were sleeping in a field without a tent.
That is very true.
In all seriousness, mate, no, it was great. And as I say, you fitted right into it. You know, it was no problem.
I was going to ask you, so what was the highlight of your We Have Ways experience?
Now, I knew you were going to ask this question because you are the king of questions, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. King Dingaling of questions. I got several. I mean, obviously, meeting supporters for me was a massive thing. You know, that was a big highlight to actually say hello to these people and think, oh, blimey, actually, we are making a difference here, you know, and listening to them saying, you know, being complimentary about the podcast, taking on board some of the comments as well that we've had. None of it was bad feedback. Some of it was useful, some suggestions. That was good.
Yeah.
I know we've got several highlights, and I'm going to throw this question back to you in a second, but one of the biggest highlights for me was actually when Robbie and Matt came around with their roaming World War II movie quiz. I really enjoyed that. That was actually quite funny, actually, and I really enjoyed. They've just put the video out as we're recording today. How about you, buddy?
That's kind of like a loaded question, since it was my first experience and everything was just absorbing. And every time I turned, it just got better. As Nigel Tufnell says, it goes to 11. I think there were two really great experiences. Well, I take it back. There were three experiences that were really tremendous. The first one was listening to Norma Graham and seeing Norma there and listening to the audience when she gave her presentation. That was really good. Also, when somebody comes up to me and asks why the kilt, and it's the foot in the door to tell the story of Captain James Graham Ogilvy, which, as you and I have spoken in the past, that photo is very gripping to me. It is, we talked about and I love your answer, why that photo grips us the way that it does. And your answer is always,
That is the most famous photograph of him, and he's a mystery.
absolutely. And I think that the one evening that I will forever cherish and remember is Mike Peters sitting in the tent with us, and we were just talking everything, whether it was Operation Varsity or Glider Pilot Regiment, or just three great mates having a conversation. And that was truly extraordinary.
Yeah, I mean, to tell the whole story, it's about, I don't know what, 10:30 at night. I nip off to the glider pilot room, and I come back and I can hear voices in the tent. And I was like, oh, really? Come on. Like, I've had a long day and I want to go to bed. So I pull back the tent flap, and sitting on my bed is Mike Peters talking to Kevin, who is trying to take his shoes off. And I don't mean that in any sort of like weird way, but yeah. And then you're sitting there for another hour talking with Chalky, as you say, Kevin, just shooting the breeze, and yeah, surreal.
Oh, it really was. And you know what? I think another highlight, and I know you remember this, there were two gents there, and I just got done. I was talking to them about the Glider Pilot Regiment formation, and they knew a little bit, but not a lot. And then it was almost like you and I we were tag team WWE, man. I high-fived you, and you came in and you finished you remember those two guys? And I think between the two of us, we must have talked to those guys for half an hour, probably.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good analogy about the tag team, but why you hit that guy with a chair, I'll never know.
It was there.
But no, it's in all seriousness. No, it was good, and it's just what we do, isn't it? I mean, we've only known each other for a couple of years, but we've just slid right into this rapport that we have with what we do, and it's turned out pretty well, isn't it?
I think so. It's almost like I felt like we were neighbor kids, that we went to school together, and we've only known each other for 2 short years.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say this, your weather ain't got nothing on Indiana weather. I mean, come on. Okay. A rain shower blows through 5 minutes, boom, it's gone. Please. I'm used to thunderstorms that last at least an hour, 2 hours. So this whole bollocks about British weather is, please. I'm used to Indiana. Wait 5 minutes, it changes.
You do like that word, don't you?
It's really funny. I spend a week there, and I'm picking up the slang and the colloquialisms, and you're picking up my Americanisms. In all seriousness, too. Or I'm sorry. To be fair, it really was a great 4 days, and I do want to echo with what you said with regarding to our listeners. That was a big highlight for me as well. You see their profiles on the social media, but to finally meet the listeners in person, and I know we started picking up on this pretty quickly. We're talking to somebody and they go, "Oh yeah, I listen to the podcast." I go, Andy, we got a listener," and you would hustle over, and we and they'd be like, "Oh, can we take a photo?" And I'd be like, "Yeah." So that really was. It was great fun to listen to talk to our listeners and our supporters, and just have an interaction with them.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give a shout out to Greg Thorley, who was over every single day of the festival and chatting to us. And what a great guy! So, Greg, it was really, really great to talk to you.
Yeah, I echo that sentiment as well, Greg. It was great to talk to you. We can't, Andy, you and I, we love doing this, but if we don't have the listeners, we don't have the supporters. We're spinning wheels. So I deeply appreciate everybody who came over to say hi to us. And it really was fun and exciting for me to interact and put a name to a face.
The other talk we went to was Mike Peters as well. I mean, I only managed to get in one talk, and that was Mike in the evening. Obviously, you went to Norma's. We heard Norma's, the response to Norma from where we were, the cheer when she came on.
Yeah.
But the other thing as well is it was the standard of living history that was there was once again top drawer. Absolutely spot on, wasn't it?
Oh, it really was. And I will say this too, and this goes for our listeners as well as the general audience that attended the festival. It really was refreshing to talk to people on a level field. In other words, I didn't have to answer the question, "You mean they flew gliders in World War II?" So they may not know the dive speed of the Horsa, but that was a very discerning audience. They knew their topic, they knew their stuff, and it was actually kind of refreshing. And it was also refreshing that I didn't have to listen to Monty was too slow. You guys stopped and drank tea like every 5 minutes, and the U.S. had to bail out Britain. That was refreshing that I did not have to address that nonsense. So, although admittedly, you and I did get bristled a little bit, didn't we?
Oh yeah, that was after Mike's talk, wasn't it? We were going to go across anyway and see him. It was an evening talk, and Mike had asked us to come across because he said he was going to give us a shout out, which he did at the very end of his talk. And people who listened to the talk and were, firing questions at him and everything. And one of the guys just happened to say, as we were standing there, he said to Mike something about gliders crashing, and apparently we both bristled and sort of our haunches went up. And Mike actually said, didn't he? He said, "Well, you don't say that when these guys are around."
Yeah, I kind of, my ears kind of perked up, and it's like my crash radar was going off big time. It's like, okay, who said it? Who said it?
Yeah.
But that was a really good presentation by Mike. That was great fun to be able to see him. And again, for me, it was just an extraordinary experience to be a part of. We Have Ways Fest, and again, to tell the story of the Glider Pilot Regiment. And to help Jane with the society. I mean, it was just what a tremendous experience. And like I said, the audience, very discerning. They know their stuff, and that was really refreshing.
Yeah, absolutely. Despite the rain and like Wimbledon at times, and with it was covers on, covers off on the kit and equipment, it was overall it was a really good day until the Sunday. Oh, we had some very heavy showers, but it wasn't too bad on that front. But the very next day after we got back was the Fly Museum.
Oh, what an experience. And I must say this, I am extremely impressed you were able to pull me out of there because I would have stayed. That is a really, really good museum. I enjoyed myself immensely. And you showing me around was just icing on the cake. That was great fun.
Yeah. It took me 10 minutes to get you away from that bloody Horsa.
Oh, hey, I'm surprised you didn't pull me from the cockpit. I could have spent the whole day there. I mean, it was, again, a superb museum, well laid out, and it helps when somebody who's an employee there knows all the ins and outs. So that was pretty nice. But as much as I loved that Horsa, I have to admit, Andy, the archive room was pretty cool.
Yeah, I do take it for granted that's where I actually earn my pay.
And again, as we made the tour and you said, check this out. So we sat, and it was the film footage from Lawrence Wright, who authored The Wooden Sword, and seeing some of that original footage of the Kirby kites flying in formation, landing in formation, the king, the queen, they as if it couldn't get any better. You go, oh, mate, you just wait. Just watch. And then it rolled into the color footage. Oh my, holy smokes. That was really cool. I remember you said, hey, check out the individual with his back turned, color film, Dennison, maroon beret. And as soon as he turned, there was Lieutenant Colonel George Chatterton. Oh my gosh, that was that was an incredible piece of film footage. I just could have watched that loop all day.
I actually think he was the full colonel by then, I think.
Oh, was he?
He was self-proclaimed commander glider pilots, wasn't he, by then? But no, it's a fantastic piece of film, and it's going to be made available on the museum's website soon. That's the next step, so that the public can actually see it through online means.
That really kind of dovetails into our episodes of the early, when we talk about the early days of the airborne, the baby steps, and seeing that, not just reading it in a book, actually seeing it on film, the early steps, the hot spur in flight, landing. I mean, that was it was amazing. And it was just such a microcosm of the things that we talk about that, none of this just happened. It slowly had to develop.
Yeah, and what's nice about it is they're whizzing around in Kirby kites as well, single-seater sailplanes during a visit and a demonstration to the King and Queen. Then we sat down and we recorded an episode. Our first episode on the road, outside the Horsa Groom.
Yes.
And it's turned out really well.
Absolutely. And I can't think of a better way to end our experience at We Have Ways Fest 2025 than to end it with a day at the Army Flying Museum. That was just top notch. First class.
and no purple smoke.
No purple smoke. And the way to end the entire week was when you and I went to the pub to go have a meal and a drink in your village, it was wonderful. You know, for us in the States, when you picture a village in the UK, it's exactly what you imagine in your head. But mate, just to sit there for 4 hours and we had a couple of pints and just to talk and had a meal before I headed back to the States. That was the perfect ending to just an extraordinary week.
There it was, mate. And I can't thank you enough for coming over here, doing the living history bit and promoting the GPR. So this was only supposed to be a spitballing wiki episode just to fill people in on our experiences of Kev being in the UK and obviously attending We Have Ways and the Army Flying Museum. But unfortunately, all good things and all that, the landlord has now been, give us the eye for a few minutes now. So
Andy, we may actually be able to get out of here so that he can get home to the missus.
yes, you're right. Now that we've actually named the pub, the next thing is going to be, what's the name of the landlord?
True.
So anyway, unfortunately, we are going to have to call time, gentlemen, please, on another episode of Ham and Jam. Thanks again for joining us and listening in. Don't forget to give us a like, comment, and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to us on. And don't forget, you can also support us on our Buy Me a Coffee page. You can find us at buymeacoffee.com/hamandjam, where you can support us for as little as £2 a month. Kev, do you want to raise your glass, mate?
Raising my glass.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And
Ham and Jam.
Ham and Jam.
Thanks for listening to Ham and Jam. If you enjoyed this episode and want to help Andy and Kevin make more, please support us on buymeacoffee.com.
I mean, for our listeners, it literally took me 10 minutes to pull him off. I got to rephrase that one.